Welcome to today's episode of Brand OTC, where we answer your branding questions with a faux over the counter product. Now, today's product is called Valuefy, which helps you define strong brand values. So, if you're struggling with brand dilution, internal misalignment, and lost trust, this is the episode for you. Well, hello, my name is Cynthia Akita, and I am your brand strategist and educator here at the Design Firmacy. And the question for today is, what are brand values and how do I choose them? Well, like any other value, it's something that is of importance to your business. It's a measure by which you um, make decisions within your company, in which your audience tends to support you, especially if it's something that you really put out there for them to understand. So let me backtrack a little bit and let's get into it. So values are concepts or ideas that really matter most to your company. They are expensive. They are worth something, right? The term value means that it is of high value, or I shouldn't say value to describe the word, right? It's of high worth, right? So when you have values in your business, it helps to shape the decisions that you make. And it also helps to set some parameters for any ideas or partnerships that you may end up being involved in. And it's extremely important for your business because it gives you a sense of direction. Now, when you clearly communicate what your values are to your audience and to your prospects, it also gives you an opportunity to connect with them on a much deeper level, whereas they don't just support you for the product or the service that you provide them with, but because they back whatever it is that you believe in and how you operate within your company. So, values are so important. Now, buyers who can connect with your values tend to become more loyal members of your community. And if you know anything about what I share on this platform, you know that relationships are important when it comes to building your business and building a strong brand. Relationships are everything. And so if you have an opportunity to build some loyalty, build some trust with your audience, that is the route or the route that you want to take. So, let's get into a couple of ways that you can identify what really matters in your business. So, the first thing I want you to do is think. Use your brain, think back to a couple of experiences that you've gone through in your business. And the first thing I want you to think about is a negative experience. So, it doesn't have to be a business that relates directly to what you do. So, for example, if you're a web designer, you don't have to think about a bad experience that you've had with another web design agency. Just any business that you've encountered that you just did not have a great experience with. Now, think about that. I'm sorry if it gets you just a little bit upset, but think about it and ask yourself, what made that experience a bad one? Why didn't you enjoy it? If you hated it, what did you hate about it? And write that down. Now, when you think about that, I want you to identify some of the feelings that you had. Like, were you angry? Were you sad? Were you irritated? Like, how did it make you feel? How did that experience appeal to your emotions? All right. And write that down. Then I want you to take a moment and, brighten yourself up and think about a positive brand experience that you've had. Now, again, in the same manner, what was that experience? Describe it. What made it a good experience? What feelings came with that good experience? Was it happiness? Was it satisfaction? Did you feel as if people were being thoughtful of your preferences, of your choices, of your desires? Did they go the extra mile to make you feel seen and heard? What were that good emotions that you felt that accompanied this great experience? All right. So, think about those experiences and then attach it to a sentiment, which would be the feeling. So, um, let's go back to that negative one. So, based on that negative experience, again, what were the emotions that you felt? And write those down. Be very specific. Maybe write about 3 to 5 emotions that you felt. And then when you think back to your positive experience, again, write down 3 to 5 emotions that you felt about that. And then after that, I want you to related to a value. So going back to that negative feeling, based on those negative feelings that you had, what were some of the opposite emotions that you would have wanted to feel? Okay, so based on the bad feelings that you had, what were the opposite feelings that you would have wanted? So, for example, excuse me, if you were sad, the opposite value would be happiness, right? If you felt constricted or in bondage, then freedom would be the opposite of that. If you were unsatisfied, satisfaction would be the opposite of that, right? If you were put down, maybe you would use the word like optimism or optimistic as an opposite value. And then when you think to your positive experience, I want you to think about the adaptable value. And so that's something that you want to glean from that experience and bring into your own business. So if your positive experience made you feel happy or excited, again, you want to take that excitement, you want your clients to feel that, right? Or your audience. If they made you feel comfortable, you would want to potentially bring that into your company, I hope. If they helped you to feel understood, that's another thing that you want to bring in. You want to adapt some of those great things that those companies did, that helped you feel or made your experience more worthwhile. And so, some examples, or before I get into the examples, once you list all those emotions, then you want to attach it to, what you believe is important for the way that you operate your business, the atmosphere that you want to have, maybe how you want your team to operate and how you want them to feel, and just overall company values and how you guys want to operate. And so, pardon me. So with that, get your wheels turning, get your brain working, and see what values you can pull out of there. I say it's good to have about 3 to 5 values, but not only do you want to just list them, you also want to explain how it's going to live and operate within your business and why it's important. So some examples of some values here. If you're thinking more so of an atmosphere, you can use words like wonder, warmth, compassion, enthusiasm, enjoyment, passion, safety, community, empathy, um, individuality, satisfaction, security, success. If it's more so about the way that you operate, you could consider values like attention to detail, integrity. Integrity is a big one for me personally. Honesty, consistency, credibility, customer satisfaction, respect, innovation. Innovation, you would think of Apple. Apple is real big on innovation, even though some people may may not agree, but they're typically known for innovation. Some additional ones would be quality. You want to ensure that you have quality experiences, quality products, mastery, professionalism, and timeliness. Timeliness can be a great value for your business, especially if you're producing things that work on a timeline. So, I spoke about web design earlier. If you have a web design company or a design firm of some sort and you have to deliver something to your client, you want to make sure that you follow your timelines or you do it in a timely manner because that also speaks to your reputation. No one wants to work with a company that is always late, that never meets their deadlines and, induces all types of stress. So, timeliness can be a value for your business if it fits. When it comes to team building, you can consider, accountability, keeping everybody on the same page, making sure everyone is doing their part. Appreciation, making sure that your teammates feel valued in your business. Belonging, collaboration, communication is a big one. Gratitude, um, which kind of goes with appreciation, excuse me, inspiration, leadership. If you want to, build up your team members so that they can also become leaders, that can be a great one for you as well. Personal development, values, skills. And then company-wide, you could also consider diversity, accessibility, depending on the type of business you have. Sorry. You could also consider inclusivity, education is big, commitment, family. Family is a huge deal, especially for me because, I'm growing my family. And so, um, my husband and I are always interested in companies that actually care that you have a family and, you have other responsibilities outside of the workplace and don't try to put you down, for needing a day off and all of that stuff. And I know that's something that a lot of people also look for as well. So, if family is a value in your company, you want to make sure that your actions also speak to, to that value. It wouldn't make sense for family to be a value of yours, but then, you fire people for taking days off. I mean, obviously that could likely get you a lawsuit, right? But you want to make sure that the actions that you take reflect those values. So, again, with speaking about family, if we stay on family, another way to show your values within your brand is by creating products and services around them. So, again, going back to family, if you are, um, let's say, a full brand that I tend to use is a cleaning company, and their mission is to help you get more time on your hands, so that you could spend time with your family. So they'll clean your house and do all those things because their desire is for you to spend that extra time with your family instead of having you clean and do all those things. So in this particular company, something that they could do, to further emphasize their value of family is to have family day events. So let's say, one day they put together a whole family day event where there are like obstacle courses, for kids, the bouncy houses that kids love so much. You could have face painting, just create an event or a moment where families can get together because ultimately that is what is important for this company to give families their time back. And so that would be a great way to, create an event, a service, or a product around a value. If your brand values health, something you could do if you were going the event route would be to have a health fair, right? Or, if we get away from events and we talk about a product, you could potentially send your clients a box filled with healthy snacks or, healthy snack samples that they could potentially bring into their home and adapt into their lifestyle, that would help them make better choices, right? So there are so many ways to incorporate your values into the way that you treat your clients or how you serve them. And it further gives them a reason to become more loyal to you because they see that you value certain things or you find them to be important. And so, um, don't forsake the ability to use your values to impact your audience. Now, the other end of values is it comes to making decisions. So let's say you are that same cleaning company that I was talking about, but you meet another company who wants to partner with you and their brand is all about um maybe not so clean products because this particular company emphasizes using cleaning products that are clean, have cleaner ingredients and all of that. So let's say a company who doesn't care anything about that wants to merge or wants to do an event together, and you have the opportunity to sit down and say, hey, okay, so these are our values. This is what we find important. And we're seeing that this other company doesn't really care about that stuff. And so, in order to keep our audience safe and maintain the sanctity of what we are trying to accomplish, maybe it's not so much of a good idea to work with that specific company. So that's just an example there of another way that you can use your values to kind of guide your way forward, especially when it comes to partnerships. So values are important. Don't leave them out when you are building your brand strategy. It is a huge, important part of what makes the entire brand work. And so I hope you found that helpful. I will catch you guys on the next episode. And until then, have an amazing time. I'll see you. Bye. You're doing all the things: posting content, updating your website, running ads, tweaking your offers, but still wondering, why isn't this working? Truth is, you might be focusing on areas that look productive, but aren't actually moving the needle. The Brand Vitals assessment helps you stop guessing and start targeting. It's like a wellness checkup, but for your brand. You'll gain crystal clear insight into the 9 essential areas every brand needs to thrive. No fluff, no filler, just facts about where your brand stands and what needs your focus. Because clarity is the first step to real momentum. And when you know where to focus, you start to see progress, not just activity. Get out of busy work. Get into brand building that actually works. Take the Brand Vitals assessment now. Have you tapped into your Firmacy benefits? As a beneficiary, you unlock special offers, gifts, and always stay in the loop. Subscribe today to receive your exclusive dose. Visit firmacybenefits.com.